Just a really, I think, meaningful way because he did something, and Susan talks about this in the interview I have with her later. He did something that almost no one in American public life will ever do, right? Is to put personal ambition aside and do something for the country and to cede power willingly to do what they think is best for the country. And I certainly hope he is recognized for that. We should all say thank you to him now for what he did over the last 3.5 years and the decision he made, which has obviously been validated by the way the response to Vice President Harris right out of the bat here. But I think it was a very meaningful and poignant moment to watch.
One thing I took away from the speech in his delivery, his tone, is that he clearly still believes with every fiber of his being that he could have won, that he deserves to win, that he could serve another term. And I only say that because, to me, it makes his decision that much more admirable and patriotic and true to who he's always been, because this is someone who still has such confidence that he can do the job and also such affection for the job. He tweeted afterwards that, it just brings him joy and purpose to serve people. And there was a picture of him he walked out after the speech, and just this look on his face when he saw everyone, just completely lit up, and people talk about putting your ambition aside, and everyone has ambition in politics, right? That's normal. But it's also this deep love of service that he has been doing it his whole life. And, I know we obviously criticize him for not stepping aside earlier and all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, he made the decision, and it's a really fucking hard decision to make for someone who genuinely believes, with good reason, that they accomplished so much and have more to offer. So it was bittersweet for sure. All right, let's talk about the brand new race for the presidency with about 100 days to go. Wild. In 1 week, we got a new Democratic nominee who, along with Joe Biden's campaign staff, has been able to unite the party, generate a level of organic grassroots enthusiasm we haven't seen since the Obama days, raise $126 million from over 1 million donors, 64% of whom donated for the first time this cycle, and pull even with Trump in the polls just days after his party's convention and an attempt on his life. The A+ rated New York Times Siena poll has Trump at 48% and Vice President Harris at 47%. Biden was trailing by 6 in their last poll just a few weeks ago. Swing state polls have her a point or two down, though she's made up significant ground in all these polls with young, black, and brown voters, which is making states like Georgia competitive again. The campaign is still not up on the air with TV ads, though they released their first digital ad today based on Harris's stump speech. And here she is on Thursday speaking to the American Federation of Teachers Convention in Houston. Let's listen.
So Project 2025 is a plan to return America to a dark past. He intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations and make working families foot the bill. And he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. So we want to ban assault weapons, and they want to ban books. And we, who believe in reproductive freedom, will restore the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government telling her what to do. In this moment, we are in a fight for our most fundamental freedoms. And to this room of leaders, I say, bring it on. Bring it on.
Bring it on. First of all, I don't know about you, but I'm still having trouble processing the fact that with 100 days to go, we literally have a brand new race, a brand new nominee, and so far, everything has gone incredibly well. Still an incredibly close race, still going to be tough. All the bad stuff is probably still coming, right? We're starting to see the attack ads, but it's just unprecedented is an overused word, uncharted waters, whatever you may say. But just the idea, we've been, working in politics forever. The idea that with 100 days to go, you just start from scratch. It's wild.
I was going to just thank goodness that she could inherit the campaign team she did. right?
Yeah.
There are a lot of arguments based on her political skills, her popularity, her resume as to why Vice President Harris was the obvious person to replace President Biden were he to step aside. But a less discussed fact is she got to inherit this campaign staff, because if there had been this wave of excitement and all she had was one single piece of paper that said she'd filed Harris for president, you couldn't have captured any of that enthusiasm. You couldn't have got the 100,000 volunteers. You wouldn't have really had a place to collect information from the million donors and all the above. It's wild what is happening. And every the last few days, and I say this with the foreboding sense of someone who's always waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Right. Yeah, no.
But the last few days have gone better than anyone could possibly have expected. And sometimes you see these things when new candidates come in the race and there's all this excitement, and then they go out and give remarks, and now the Klieg lights are on, all the scrutiny, and they don't measure up. She went to that campaign headquarters on Monday in like not a highly produced event or anything like that, and just nailed the message perfectly. Then she has to go to, you wouldn't normally schedule a rally on the second day of your campaign when you just filed papers on Sunday, but she was already scheduled to go to Milwaukee, so she goes there and she nails that. And then she had this previously scheduled official event at the teachers union in Houston. Couldn't cancel that, so she had to go do that, and she nailed that too. It is incredibly impressive from the staff side, the organizational side, and particularly from a performance perspective from the vice president. She is nailing this.
And to think about the staff that has had to go through some of the worst weeks anyone's had to go through on a campaign, and then to just turn on a dime and put this together and like get this thing going in a week, and to not just get it going, but to get it going like almost flawlessly, is like tip my cap to the Harris campaign staff and the former Biden campaign staff that is now the Harris. We've never seen that in politics before either.
I mean, just think about this. They woke up on Sunday morning getting ready to do a bunch of things for Joe Biden campaign events the next week. By lunchtime, they're Googling the shade of green for Brat, right? Like that's how it's just wild.
It is amazing. I was thinking about what David Axelrod used to say, which is that a presidential campaign is like you're like shot out of a cannon, and he said you don't have a lot of time to do like off-Broadway practice performances before you just are like on Broadway. And I do think that is certainly true with Kamala Harris. The only like sort of off-Broadway time she had was maybe like the last couple of years as vice president, right? And she had some tough times as early on in vice president. She had some like bad news cycles. And then I do think that people sort of then just paid more attention to the presidential race and Biden and Trump. But in the last year or so, I just think she's had a lot of practice and she's gotten so good, right? And she's like so much more comfortable in her skin, more than I think she ever has been. And she speaks really well, and she's just very sure of herself. And but even with all that, it's still like, with the amount of pressure that is on her now, right? She's just, she hasn't shrunk from it at all. It's amazing.
Yeah, so impressive.
It seems like we need a few more weeks to let the events of the last few weeks really sink in with voters. But what do you think of the polling so far? We just had the New York Times Siena poll drop right before we started recording.
I think it all dovetails with, I think, what we hoped would come from a shift is you are seeing the race get back to a toss-up race, right? Where Trump has advantages. He has more past the 270. That is still true. A tied national race is still one where Trump has a 2-point advantage in the battleground states, you would say. Just reminding people that Biden won the popular vote by 4.5 in 2020 and won the battleground states by 40,000 votes. I think that gap between the popular vote and the electoral college has probably narrowed some, but it's still a race where Trump is the favorite, a slight favorite. But you can very easily see and chart what a path to victory for Kamala Harris looks like, and that was not the case it was hard with President Biden before the debate. It felt nearly impossible after the debate, and now this is a very winnable. It's a close but very winnable race.
Yeah, the Times poll has it 48-47 Trump. When you include third-party candidates, Kamala Harris is actually up 1. And it's interesting that RFK Jr. support is dropping. And in the 5-way now, those third-party candidates are taking more from Trump than they are from Kamala Harris. And she's getting, 93% of Democrats in the poll, which is what Trump is getting from Republicans. Her approval is